Hi, I'm Tara Lee Byrne and welcome to Purple Valley Ashtanga Yoga Centre, Goa. Today we're going to be learning how to make Superfood Bliss Balls, and these ones are going to be infused with wild orange oil. You can also try them with peppermint oil or cardamom, variety of choices, whichever suits your taste. So we're going to start with making our own nut powder. So we'll use 1 cup of almonds that we're going to grind down. Now, if you have a close look here, you can see that we still have quite a few chunks of the actual nuts. If you like to have your bliss balls a little bit more dense in texture, you can keep grinding them down into a finer powder, or else if you like to have the nutty effect, you can leave them at this. I find because there's other elements going into the actual bliss ball, such as flax seeds and chia seeds, it's nice to have more a finer powder in the almonds. But these are also alternatively fine for you to use. I'm just going to grind it for a few more moments. Okay, wonderful. So these are going to form the body, the main structure of the bliss ball. And bliss balls are known for their superfoods. So you can choose whichever superfoods you're particularly drawn to, whether it's goji berries or acai or maca or lucuma, whichever you feel supports you. But today we're going to be using chia seeds, which are nature's natural electrolyte, which keep you hydrated during the day. We're also going to use flaxseed, which is full of your omegas, wonderful as in its entirety, or else you can grind it down into a powder. We're going to use raw cold pressed coconut oil, which there's a lot of information out about coconut oil now. It's one of the only oils that actually can withstand very high temperatures and not turn into a trans fat. Also, it's very high in lauric acid, which is wonderful for your system, and it can be used internally, externally, for your hair, for your skin, cleansing products, massage, it's endless. We're also going to use tahini. And so tahini is actually sesame seeds ground up into a paste. You can make it yourself, but it takes quite a lot of time, and you can buy it ready-made. We're also going to use a superfood, which is a blend of spirulina, barley grass, wheatgrass, and other algae that are formed into a powder. And we're going to roll it in some bee pollen. You can also, visually it looks very nice if you have some goji berries finely chopped up, mixed with some bee pollen. You have this lovely red yellow effect on the outside of the bliss ball. We have some desiccated dried coconut. We're lucky here in Goa that we can actually buy the coconuts, and then we can grate them ourselves and use them in our desserts and in our main courses. We have some raw honey. We have our dates, and then we're going to use our raw cacao. We're also going to have a little pinch of Himalayan rock salt, and here in Goa we're extremely fortunate to be able to buy the vanilla pods. So we start off with the ground almonds, and to the ground almonds we're going to add, to 1 cup of almonds, we're going to add approximately 6 or 7, and these dates are, medium size. So you can just put in the dates, try and maybe separate them a little bit so they don't all go in one clump. It's not necessary to chop them because they're going to break down anyway. Then we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of desiccated coconut. We're going to put in 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. It's also possible you can buy chia seeds that are pre-milled, so you can also use that as well. Either whichever you take to your fancy, you can use that. Then we have some flax seeds, and the flax seeds, these are also in their entirety. They haven't been ground down, but you can alternatively use ground flax seeds. 1 tablespoon. We're going to use half a tablespoon of a superfood powder. Then we're going to have a pinch of Himalayan salt, just a pinch. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of the coconut oil. If you're fortunate enough to live in a hot climate, your coconut oil will stay in a liquid form. But once it becomes cold, even here in India, at night it turns into a solid. So all you have to do is just pop the entire bottle or the jar in a bowl or a pan of boiling water, and it'll melt the oil immediately. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of raw honey. But depending on where your dates are from and how sweet and juicy they are, you might need to add a little bit more honey to suit your taste. And tahini. Tahini is a very good binder, and it gives that kind of richer texture to the bliss ball, a little bit more body, just 1 tablespoon. And then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of the raw cacao powder. Now, as it is, it's actually fine to go as a bliss ball. I love flavouring my desserts with different essential oils, and the essential oil that I work with is doTERRA, which is 100% certified therapeutic grade pure oil, which means no chemical fillers or alcohol, just 100% the extract from the peel of the orange that we're using today. So for 1 cup of almonds, you would use approximately 4 to 5 drops of the oil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A nice oil to pair with this is cardamom, which goes very, very well with wild orange. So we're just going to blend it, and what will eventually happen is it will actually just form one really big, almost like a bread dough ball, and then you just roll it by hand. So just make sure nothing is stuck to the bottom. So how do you know if the bliss ball is ready to be rolled, and is there enough moisture there to hold it together? Is it too dry? Were the nuts that you used possibly a little bit drier and we need to add some more coconut oil? So the way you check that is you just take a little bit of the mixture, and if you can squeeze it and it stays together and holds and binds, then you know that it's ready to be rolled. So if you feel that it's not actually bound enough and it's still a little bit too dry, what you can do is you can just add a teaspoon of coconut oil or a little bit extra of tahini, and that will just loosen the mixture and allow it to bind a little bit easier. These are actually ready to go right now. So we're going to roll them. There's no special equipment whatsoever. It's just simply your hands. So the average amount, if you were to actually measure it, if you want to know exactly, it's approximately a teaspoon, yeah? So, but an easier way I find, especially if you're rolling about 80 of them for a retreat, you're going to just literally grab with your hand like that, and whatever you get is approximately a teaspoon. Then you roll it together between your hands and your palms. Don't be too firm, because then it actually won't end up forming a ball. It'll just stay flat. So you want to keep it rolling on the palms and on the knuckles here. And you don't need to put anything on your hands in order to roll this, because the oils from the nuts and from the coconut oil will actually facilitate the mixture not sticking to your hands. And there you have one perfectly shaped bliss ball. So you can either visually, it looks nice, you can leave it like this, but I like to roll it in some other nuts or seeds or superfoods. So you can then take your bee pollen and you pop it in the bee pollen. You just roll it around with one finger because the bee pollen is of a different texture, so it needs a little bit more time to stick to the outside of the bliss ball. And then you can take it out, and then you have your bee pollen. You can actually roll it directly in some cacao. I find if I roll it in the cacao, you'll see in a moment that the cacao mixed with the oil, it doesn't stay the same color. So unless you're serving them immediately, I prefer not to roll them in cacao. So you can even see that just as it is with the nuts, it looks quite visually appealing. But when you roll it, it looks lovely and light and fluffy. And now in about 30 seconds, you'll see the oils coming through, so it changes and it becomes a little bit dark and patchy. Visually, it's not as attractive, possibly as rolling it in some coconut or goji berries, but that's another option available to you. And then you can roll it in some desiccated coconut. Now the coconut we actually have here is desiccated coconut strands, like shards of it, so it doesn't stick as easily as it would if it was just the tiny little flakes that are much, much smaller. As you can see that these guys are a little bit longer, so they don't stick as easily to the round surface. But I'll just give you an idea of what it might look like snowflakes. So you can see they're long, so if they were shorter, they would have stayed much easier. So that's our Superfood Cacao Wild Orange Bliss Ball. Hope you enjoy it.